Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.
No one inside the paddock expected Yamaha to make a decision this bold. A three-time World SBK champion, known for impossible braking and supernatural confidence, stepping into MotoGP at the exact moment the championship is preparing for its biggest regulation shift in over a decade. And the most staggering part was that Toprak Razgatlioglu would enter MotoGP in 2026, just 1 year before the entire rulebook is rewritten. Some analysts called it genius, others called it reckless, and one paddock veteran, Carlo Pernot, didn't hold back. But behind the excitement, behind the applause, behind the debates, something far deeper was beginning to unfold. Something Yamaha didn't see coming, and something Toprak himself would soon feel the full weight of. Because this wasn't just a signing, this was the beginning of a storm. Inside Yamaha's silent conference rooms, the decision happened quickly. A signature, a handshake, a forward-facing announcement crafted to look confident and controlled. Yet the reaction outside those walls was anything but calm. Toprak Razgatlioglu, superbike phenomenon, global star, late-breaking magician, was officially joining MotoGP with Pramac Yamaha. For fans, it was a celebration. For Yamaha, it was a gamble. For critics, it was confusion. Carlo Pernot openly questioned the timing. His message was simple: why bring Toprak in for 1 year on a bike that will be obsolete the next? He wasn't doubting Toprak's talent, he was doubting Yamaha's plan.
But while critics threw questions from every side, Toprak stood unaffected, calm, ready, almost amused by the noise around him. Yet even before he touched a MotoGP throttle, whispers had already begun to circle him. Behind closed doors, Yamaha was facing a reality few manufacturers dared to admit. Their MotoGP project needed more than a refresh, it needed a resurrection. The 2026 bike would not be a revolution, it would be a bridge, a stepping stone toward 2027, when MotoGP would introduce 850cc engines, reduced aero packages, and possibly new tire suppliers. Inside Yamaha's engineering offices, teams were split. One group wanted to push for immediate competitiveness in 2026, even if the results were modest. The other group believed everything, every hour, every resource should be poured into the 2027 machine. That created a new dilemma. If 2026 was already seen as a transitional year, then what kind of bike would Toprak actually debut on? It was a question no one dared to answer publicly. Yet an even more worrying detail was coming to light. The Valencia test was supposed to be simple, a warm-up, a welcome, a chance for Toprak to familiarize himself with carbon brakes, Michelin grip windows, aggressive aerodynamics, and MotoGP electronics. Instead, it delivered a silent shock. The braking style that made Toprak a legend, the impossibly late entries, the rear-wheel theatrics, the gut-quenching diagonal stops, didn't translate cleanly.
Pramac team manager Gino Borsoi later admitted something was clear from the first laps. Toprak realized he couldn't attack the MotoGP bike the same way he attacked a superbike. Carbon brakes demanded different timing. Michelin fronts punished risky lean angle entry. And the bike reacted like a machine with its own personality, a personality that didn't yet trust him. Toprak finished the test understanding something he didn't want to admit. His debut season could involve finishing outside the top 10. The pain of that realization cut deeper than any setback. Yet the data engineers discovered something far more concerning. Voices across the paddock began clashing long before the season even started. Carlo Pernot doubled down, saying Yamaha's decision made no logical sense. According to him, Toprak would spend 2026 learning skills that might become irrelevant in 2027. Other insiders said Yamaha didn't just want speed, they wanted a superstar, someone explosive for the media, someone who could change the narrative overnight. Rival teams speculated that this was a pressure move, a statement from Yamaha to show they were still a force in the market. Meanwhile, fans from Turkey and around the world flooded social media with energy MotoGP hadn't seen in years. Their message was loud: don't underestimate him. He will prove you wrong. But inside Yamaha, the noise outside wasn't the issue. The real issue was internal: engineering tension, political pressure, and rising doubt.
Yet just as the criticism peaked, another rumor began circulating, a rumor that would change the entire discussion about Toprak's future. When whispers began about MotoGP possibly switching to Pirelli tires for 2027, the paddock reacted instantly. The idea wasn't confirmed, but it was enough to shift the entire landscape. If MotoGP did move to Pirelli rubber, Toprak's superbike instincts would suddenly become a massive advantage. Add to that the new 850cc engines and reduced aero, and the future bike would behave much closer to the machines Toprak mastered for years. Inside Yamaha, the engineering debate became even more intense. Should they mold the 2027 bike around a future Toprak, or build a machine that suits a completely different style? For the first time, Yamaha wasn't just developing a motorcycle, they were developing an identity. And the pressure on Toprak continued to rise until one voice introduced a new perspective. When Manuel Puccetti compared Toprak to Marc Marquez, the paddock froze. The comparison wasn't casual. It was a statement that Toprak, if given the right machinery, could become the face of MotoGP. The word spread like wildfire. Some fans embraced it, some critics called it reckless, and media outlets amplified the narrative immediately. Is Toprak the next global MotoGP icon? Liberty Media, the new commercial rights holder, reportedly paid close attention. A charismatic, fearless, unconventional rider with a massive international fan base is every promoter's dream. But for Toprak, the comparison wasn't about hype. It was a reminder of responsibility. Responsibility to prove he belonged in MotoGP, not just as a marketing headline, but as a title contender. Yet, as the spotlight intensified, the real pressure was building somewhere else, inside the garage where Toprak was struggling to reshape his entire riding DNA. Behind Toprak's calm expression, frustration quietly grew. Mechanics could see it in the way he removed his gloves. Engineers could hear it in every debrief. The adaptation curve wasn't a curve at all, it was a wall. MotoGP electronics demanded precision, not instinct. The Yamaha chassis gave stability, not freedom. Aero required discipline, not improvisation. Everything that made Toprak spectacular also made him incompatible with the early prototype bike. Even communication became complicated. Toprak wanted feel. The engineers spoke in load maps and aero pressure distribution. They understood each other, but they didn't speak the same language yet. Some insiders said Yamaha even considered subtle chassis changes to give him a more dynamic connection to the rear tire, something uncommon in their usual philosophy. And just when the garage tension reached its peak, something shifted. During a long-run simulation, Toprak began experimenting, adjusting his body position, altering his corner entry, manipulating engine braking in ways no rider usually attempted on a first test. The data team noticed it immediately: a pattern, a rhythm, a style that didn't mimic a MotoGP rider but worked anyway. The numbers weren't spectacular, but the trajectory was. It was as if Toprak had finally cracked the first layer of the MotoGP code. For Yamaha, this was the moment they had been quietly hoping for. This wasn't about 2026 anymore. This was about what he could become in 2027. A season where his natural instincts, his daring aggression, and his superbike heritage might actually fit the new technical world MotoGP was heading into. And that's when the narrative shifted. The doubts didn't disappear, the critics didn't suddenly apologize, but the belief inside Yamaha began to change. Because now, the question wasn't whether Toprak could survive MotoGP, it was whether he could redefine Yamaha's future and maybe even MotoGP's.
According to insiders, what he does next won't just determine his own career. It may shape the entire direction of Yamaha's 2027 revolution, and perhaps the championship itself. The storm that began with a signature was no longer a threat. It was becoming a prophecy.